PJ to revive, breathing blood in my eye. I ain't hopping on the track and yelling free all of my guys. I'm finna break them out, that's my purpose in this life. Rock solid, virgin tight, all of my alibis. Hands off with the violence, that's for track, be a wise. Some niggas get it out the rough, but me, I strategize.
What's up, black people? Welcome to another unlawful arrest prevention video. On this channel, we analyze crowdsourced videos of traffic stops and arrests in order to educate citizens on the tactics and tricks that cops most often use to execute the unlawful arrest of a black person.
By understanding their strategies, we can develop our own, which allows us to punish them financially later on by bringing civil rights lawsuits and winning large payouts. If you find yourself the victim of police misconduct, it is important that you bring a lawsuit no matter what and do not hesitate. The most important decision you make will be the lawyer that you hire. To prevent black people from getting ripped off by sham lawyers, we have compiled a list of the best civil rights attorneys in every state. If you need help finding a civil rights attorney, simply go to unlawfularrestprevention.org. Scroll down to our National Civil Rights Attorney database and click on your state. We keep this list updated in real time as we vet more attorneys.
In the last episode of How Rappers Get So Unlucky, we covered the unlawful arrest of Foolio by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. The focus of our discussion in episode 3 was how the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office and Prosecutor Leah Allison Owens used a device called a Stingray or a Hailstorm machine to unconstitutionally monitor Foolio's cell phone usage.
Stingray and Hailstorm machines give police real-time access to the texts, calls, DMs, and other in-app communications, as well as the location of whoever they are illegally spying on. And the same for the cell phones of everyone in that person's immediate vicinity. Stingrays and Hailstorms even give the police the ability to take control of a victim's phone remotely without them ever even knowing, essentially giving the cops the ability to F with someone however they want to. Despite being illegal, every police department in America has already quietly purchased one of these machines, signing NDAs with the FBI and the Harris Corporation, the machine's manufacturer, which prevent them from ever admitting to using this technology.
Our main goal in episode 3 was to explain how the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office and Prosecutor Leah Allison Owens used one of these machines to manufacture the unlawful arrest of the rapper Foolio.
If you want to learn more about how police use Stingray and Hailstorm machines to target innocent black people, as well as what steps you can take to protect yourself from this type of unconstitutional surveillance, then watch episode 3 start to finish.
In today's video, we are going to focus on another aspect of the unlawful arrest of the then 24-year-old rapper Foolio. In this episode, we are going to meet the undercover officers from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office who arrested Foolio on blatantly made-up charges, as well as the prosecutor from the Jacksonville DA's office who instructed them to do so just so she could seize Foolio's cell phone. We want the UAP audience to see the straight psychos Foolio is dealing with, so that we can truly understand what kinds of devilish behavior he and his lawyers were up against. So before we continue, their names are Detective Beau Daigle, Detective Hunter Sullivan, and Prosecutor Leah Allison Owens. Detective Beau Daigle, Detective Hunter Sullivan, and Prosecutor Leah Allison Owens. None of these 3 individuals should be allowed to work in law enforcement, and all 3 of them should be selling real estate. That's a job anyone can do. Alright, so let's get into it. Here are the roles that these 3 individuals played in the unlawful arrest, more like capture, kidnapping, of young rapper Foolio.
Foolio was driving through Jacksonville when he was pulled over by officers Christopher Smith and Beau Daigle, also known as BP Daigle or Beau Daigle, of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. Here is Christopher Smith, and here is Beau Daigle. We're going to talk a lot about him later on. They were told by Prosecutor Leah Allison Owens to pull Foolio over and arrest him for any reason whatsoever, so they initiated a traffic stop for an alleged tint violation. Foolio drove for less than a block at 12 miles per hour before pulling over to the side of the road. These cops then lied and said that Foolio fled from a traffic stop and accused him of doing so because he was hiding evidence in his car. Christopher Smith and BP Daigle arrested Foolio at gunpoint for fleeing and tampering with evidence. They later admitted that this was a lie, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
The prosecutor who instructed Christopher Smith and Beau Daigle to make up a reason to arrest Foolio is named Leah Allison Owens.
According to her own bio, she specializes in electronic surveillance. She had been unconstitutionally monitoring Foolio's cell phone with a Stingray or Hailstorm prior to his arrest, and believed that there was information on his phone that she could use as leverage in another investigation. As we will show, she has made somewhat of a name for herself by arresting young rappers, all minors, for made-up crimes. After Foolio is arrested, he is brought to a station and interrogated for about an hour. Foolio is interrogated by Beau Daigle and Hunter Sullivan of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. The prosecutor, Leah Allison Owens, coaches them on what to ask Foolio and stands outside of the door to direct the entire interrogation. We provide a full breakdown of the bizarre and manipulative interrogation in episode 3.
The names of the people we are discussing today are Officer Beau Daigle, Officer Hunter Sullivan, Prosecutor Leah Allison Owens. That is, Officer Beau Daigle, Officer Hunter Sullivan, Prosecutor Leah Allison Owens. These three people are an imminent threat to the safety of the black population of Jacksonville so long as they are working in law enforcement there. As I said in the previous episode, the sheriff's office, the DA's office, and the entire penal system in Jacksonville needs to be thrown in the garbage.
Unfortunately, these three individuals are truly representative of their professions, and not just a few bad apples, so to speak. These officers, at the direction of Leah Allison Owens, lied and said that Foolio fled from a traffic stop even though he drove for less than 1 block at about 12 miles per hour. These people were willing to send Foolio to jail despite knowing he had done absolutely nothing at all. They interrogate him for an hour and repeatedly, desperately, try to trick him into admitting that he fled.
There are several points I will make throughout this video as I highlight these individuals' horrifying records. However, let me start with this. Beau Daigle, Hunter Sullivan, and Leah Allison Owens have all actually done worse things than any crime Foolio has been accused of. We will cover each of these people specifically, but a short time before he tried to ruin a 24-year-old rapper's life for no reason at all, Beau Daigle was speeding in his unmarked car down an unlit road when he ran over a bicyclist, killing him instantly, and then lied to make it seem like the man was riding his bike erratically. Detective Hunter Sullivan's daddy also works for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, and his name is Detective Dennis Sullivan. He plans to retire in 2026 after 30 years with the department. Detective Hunter Sullivan and his daddy, Dennis Sullivan, got drunk at a bar and beat a woman down with their fists multiple times for no reason at all. And Prosecutor Leah Allison Owens has built a career on using Stingray machines to target innocent black people, mostly kids. She was one of the brains behind the cleverly, creatively named Operation Wrap Up, in which 6 black minors and aspiring rappers were sent to prison for having prop guns in their music videos. Recently, she committed literal witness tampering when she told a woman through her lawyer that she would send her to jail if she took the stand in a trial to defend her own boyfriend. Essentially, we will punish you with prison time if you stand up for your boyfriend. None of these individuals should be allowed to work in law enforcement. And what is wild about their attempt to lock Foolio away for the rest of his young life on knowingly false charges is that out of Foolio, Detective Daigle, Detective Sullivan, and Prosecutor Leah Owens, out of the 4 of them, Foolio is actually the only one who has not done something that warrants jail time. Foolio has actually done the least harm to the community. And if any 3 of the 4 should be treated like criminals and taken off the streets, Foolio is definitely the one who should get to stay. Before we dive into the professional records of Beau Daigle, Hunter Sullivan, and Leah Allison Owens, I'm going to give an extremely quick recap of what happened to Foolio to begin with. We cover his arrest and interrogation in great detail in episode 3, but put very simply and quickly, here is what happened.
On April 6, 2022, Foolio was pulled over by several unmarked cars from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office for an alleged tint violation. Foolio drove approximately 30 yards at 12 miles per hour before pulling over. Multiple officers drew their weapons and held Foolio at gunpoint. Weapons aimed at his head, they then manhandled him, handcuffed him, and placed him in a police car. Prosecutor Leah Allison Owens then arrives on the scene and instructs the officers to charge Foolio with fleeing from a traffic stop and tampering with evidence. She then tells them to seize all of the cell phones from the vehicle and mark them as evidence before conducting a search of Foolio's car herself. The cops promise Foolio he can go home if he comes to the station to answer some questions. Foolio agrees and then is subjected to the most bizarre hour-long interrogation ever. The cops repeatedly try to trick him into admitting that he fled from a traffic stop even though he didn't. When the interrogation is over, they surprise Foolio by sending him to jail anyways. He remained in jail until his lawyer was able to get him house arrest for 5 months.
In the end, Leah Allison Owens was not able to lock Foolio away for as long as she wanted, but she was able to stop him from making any money via touring and appearances, his primary source of income, for 5 months, which, having access to his phone, she also knew he would need to pay for all the new legal fees.
We know for a fact that Leah Owens directed the traffic stop and instructed the officers to make up a reason to arrest Foolio, because the officers testified that this was the case in court under oath. Here is an excerpt from a court hearing in which Foolio's lawyer questions one of the arresting officers, Christopher Smith, who was riding in the car with Beau Daigle when they arrested Foolio.
Foolio's lawyer, Mr. Fusco, asked Detective Christopher Smith, was this traffic stop used as a tool to confiscate those cell phones? Detective Christopher Smith responds, I believe that is a fair question, yes. Now let's talk about who these dishonest, crooked, racist cops are, and what they have been doing to black people in the city of Jacksonville over the course of their careers. Like I said, we cover Foolio's arrest, interrogation, and subsequent court appearances in more detail in episode 3.
And as always, before we get into the video, I have 3 disclaimers. 1, I am not an attorney. Please contact an attorney if you have an urgent legal matter. If you need help finding an attorney in your area, please submit a claim through unlawfularrestprevention.org, and we will do our best to help you find representation, or simply visit our National Civil Rights Lawyer database. 2, unlawful arrest prevention and any videos associated with it are not for the criminally minded, and are intended to help ensure legal recourse for citizens who become the victims of a civil rights violation. 3, never, under any circumstances, tell a police officer that you are going to sue him during the course of a traffic stop or arrest.
Now, let's start with Detective Beau Patrick Daigle, also known as BP Daigle. Beau Daigle was one of the officers in the unmarked car that initiated the traffic stop with Foolio. Beau Daigle is this man right here in the camo hat, rocking it in true undercover cop fashion. Beau Daigle leads the interrogation, and as will become clear as we play clips from it, there is so much wrong with him. However, Beau Daigle shouldn't even be allowed to drive a car, let alone work as a cop. In 2017, Beau Patrick Daigle was driving way over the 35-mile-per-hour speed limit down a dark street without his police siren on while responding to a call for a petty theft. He hit a bicyclist so hard that people in the area reportedly thought 2 cars had collided. Though witnesses say they saw the officer immediately turn his lights on after mowing down the cyclist and repeatedly yell, I ain't see him, I ain't see him, Officer Beau Patrick Daigle lied and said that the man was riding his bicycle erratically and that he ran him over while trying to avoid him. So I ask you, Beau Patrick Daigle, you ain't see him, or was he riding his bike erratically? How do you know he was riding his bike erratically if you ain't see him? The man on the bicycle was a 57-year-old black Army veteran named Derek Woolbright, with a son who was left fatherless. Though he had many friends and family members in the neighborhood he lived in and was killed in, Detective Beau Daigle tried to paint him as a crazy, poor old man who was riding his bike wildly at night and who should have been way more careful to avoid losing his job and being subjected to a lawsuit. Here is an excerpt from the local news about the incident.
Bicyclist is dead and a JSO officer is off the street. This is a follow-up story to breaking news we told you about last night at 11.
And police tell us it's the result of an officer-involved bicycle crash last night that happened near the intersection of Moncrief Road and Sycamore Street. Police say the officer was dispatched on a low-priority call, so he did not have his emergency lights on. And that is where we find First Coast News' Jason Rantala. And Jason, you spoke with the brother of the victim.
That's right. I spoke with the brother's victim, Richard, just down the street here. But right here is where friends and family say that the victim was hit and killed by that JSO squad car. Let's take a look to the left here. That is the road where they had that accident. You can still actually kind of see the blood from when he was struck. And just to the right there, that's the memorial for the victim. Now, the brother says he just wants justice. Just north of the Moncrief and Sycamore intersection, the blood, police tape, and memorial
My brother died in the street right there.
are all reminders of what happened just one day ago.
Hadn't even been able to tell my mother yet because she's sick and I'm scared she may have a heart attack.
Police tell us Richard's brother was heading south here on Moncrief Road. At the same time, Officer BP Daigle was nearby responding to a low-priority call. his emergency lights off. Police say the bicycle swerved left, then right, as the front corner of the officer's car struck and killed the bicyclist. That bicyclist had no reflective clothing or lights. Police say witnesses told them Daigle didn't appear to be speeding.
I said, well, how fast do you think he was going?
Richard says he heard something else.
They say about 60, 65 miles an hour. Now, with the damage on the side of his car, at 35 miles an hour, it doesn't match up, buddy. I'm just asking for the truth to come out. That's all I'm asking for.
Richard says his brother liked helping people, especially those at this nearby church.
People go over there and volunteer his time, clean the place up, wash down the walls, empty the trash, and help them old people out.
Now he's hoping this case will get a thorough review from police.
I wanted everybody who can hear me to say a prayer for him and ask for justice for my brother. Call downtown and ask for justice for my brother. That's what I want.
Officer BP Daigle has been placed on administrative leave. That is actually standard practice.
After killing an innocent black man with children by running him completely over while speeding in his unmarked car, Beau Patrick Daigle was punished with less than 1 year of administrative leave. As is clear, he couldn't wait to get back on the streets and spread more despair. What is sick is Detective Beau Patrick Daigle killed this cyclist only a short distance away from where he pulled over Foolio in the same neighborhood. During his interrogation of Foolio, he repeatedly brings up Moncrief Road when there is absolutely no need to mention it. I don't know. Maybe it's an inside joke between Detective Daigle and Detective Sullivan, and they are communicating to each other that they'd like to kill Foolio, and Moncrief Road is their code word. Or maybe they think Foolio has heard about the cyclist and think that bringing up Moncrief Road will intimidate him. Foolio has already let them know he is apprehensive of police because they killed his little brother.
I don't have some moments, bro, with the police, so you could say that, but my little brother done been killed by the police, so.
Well, I just don't want to say it just to say it, bro, you feel me?
Yeah.
All right?
At one point, Beau Patrick Daigle suggests Foolio do a concert at the liquor store on Moncrief Road. I will play a montage of all the times Officer Beau Patrick Daigle mentions Moncrief Road to Foolio for no reason. There is something really twisted and evil about it. If I was speeding and flattened an innocent person while driving down First Street, I would never want to hear the words First Street again in my life. I wouldn't want to visit First Street, talk about First Street, or think about First Street. But Detective Beau Patrick Daigle brings up the nearby street, Moncrief Road, which has nothing to do with the traffic stop, multiple times. It's almost as if he's proud of what he's done.
When are you going to put a show on him, that freaking Moncrief Liquors or something?
Who?
You don't know what the Moncrief Liquors is?
The hell is that?
Right down Moncrief Road, yeah.
Man, do that shit at a liquor store? That don't make sense.
Shit, bro, let's check it out.
Come on, man.
Liquor store, man. That shit don't make sense.
What about the Gate gas station right there? 45th.
I got plenty around.
Hell no.
You going to do one in Jacksonville?
That'd be done. I already did a show in Jacksonville.
Right down Moncrief Road, yeah. Right down Moncrief Road, yeah. Right down Moncrief Road, yeah. When are you going to put a show on him, that freaking Moncrief Liquors or something?
Who?
The last time he mentioned Moncrief Road, Beau Patrick Daigle was asking Foolio why he doesn't put on a concert and perform at a local liquor store on Moncrief Road called Moncrief Liquor and Lounge. First of all, it's already bizarre to suggest to a famous rapper that he put on a concert at a liquor store. It's even more bizarre when this is the liquor store you are talking about. What is sick, however, is that this officer is suggesting that Foolio perform at a liquor store on the same street that he killed someone only a few years ago. Beau Patrick Daigle is a psycho. This is who the 24-year-old rapper Foolio had to go up against. If Foolio wasn't running down cyclists in his Charger like Beau Daigle did, then Beau Daigle has no standing.
That is why during this interrogation, Foolio should have requested a lawyer immediately and refused to answer any questions. At UAP, we recommend memorizing the following prepared response. I do not feel comfortable answering any more questions without a lawyer present. Again, I do not feel comfortable answering any more questions without a lawyer present. Throughout the interrogation, the cops are pretending to be friendly with Foolio, even as they are attempting to ruin his life. However, the interrogation tactics most often used by unscrupulous, low-IQ, racist cops will certainly not fly in the presence of a competent attorney. If you ever need help finding an attorney in your state, Please visit the state-by-state list of attorneys we have compiled and vetted at unlawfularrestprevention.org.
One way that Officer Beau Patrick Daigle tries to get Foolio to incriminate himself during the interrogation is by switching rapidly between questions related to the traffic stop and seemingly irrelevant fanboy questions about Foolio's music career.
Is that how you sign all your fan mail? No? And so I can't keep that. You can sell it when you make it big on platinum.
You got a different autograph? You ain't got an
I
autograph?
just signed this shit. Yeah.
You hang out with Project Youngin at all?
Yeah, I be with Young, cool as fuck. Come on, we got songs on YouTube, World Star and shit, yeah.
What's your tour schedule looking like?
I got a couple shows.
You do? Who books those for you?
The label,
Oh, okay. Who's that?
Create Music,
Where's that from?
You said that right.
Cali,
Is it
Oh,
create or crate?
Create Music.
Create, like make something,
Yeah,
create?
create.
Okay, alright.
People be capping when they rap about you?
Shit, I don't know shit, you gotta ask them.
What's the song that got the most views that you've ever had?
Play With Me.
It got more
Why
songs
would
than
you
when.
play with me? Why would you? That's the one that blew me up on TikTok. That's how I got famous.
So When I See You didn't put you on them, didn't make
that
you
just
famous?
blew me up.
What is J-Dot or Jarvo getting signed anywhere? Not J-Dot, the one I'm talking about, Jalen.
I don't know, man.
Always man like your Mud Brothers that went like back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the ones that still with you, like Kojak and all them other ones that are still riding with you. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna try to bring them out? Or you gonna just leave them right back in freaking north side of Jacksonville?
Oh, they doing what they doing, bro. People got their own shit going on, man.
Beau Patrick Daigle tries to lull Foolio into a sense of boredom and comfort by asking awkwardly worded questions and misusing street slang terminology he has picked up from arresting other young black kids. He is trying to trick Foolio into admitting to various wrongdoings he did not commit, such as fleeing from a traffic stop and attempting to hide something illegal in his car. At one point, he asked Foolio about a time a crazed fan jumped on stage and punched him in the face at a show. He pretends to be concerned for Foolio's well-being and asks if Foolio continued to perform after that. He does this to see if he can get Foolio to admit that his security hurt the fan worse than the fan hurt him, since he was able to still perform. Then they could charge Foolio with assault and claim his bodyguards used excessive force at his direction.
Where was your last show this weekend?
In Sumter, South Carolina.
What was up with the homeboy getting on the stage?
Shit, he punched me, shit. I don't know.
He got all the way up there and snuck you?
What was your security guards doing?
Shit, they beat him bad, shit. He got beat, but shit, he punched me. I ain't gonna lie.
I thought the point of security was to not let him get that close in the first place.
I let it so it was like a trampoline in front of that stage, but he got up there too fast.
He was what now?
It was a trampoline in front
Trampoline?
of the stage.
And so you just jumped up there?
Yeah.
I need
Like
it.
Batman or some shit.
He got you good?
Yeah, he punched the shot, man.
Did you keep rapping?
Huh? Nah, hell no.
No, you
I
stopped.
got my money and left.
For real? You finished the show?
I don't blame you on that. Shit. People were saying that was you on the floor, and I'm like, his security guards ain't gonna be beating him up.
Oh no, hell no.
Yeah. Just be people talking shit in the city.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of shit talking out there.
Another reason we are focusing so much on Detective Beau Patrick Daigle is because a lot of black people can't distinguish between a disingenuous, lying, deceitful white person and a straightforward, plain-dealing, honest white person. The main reason is they haven't been exposed to enough white people. One way for black people to easily identify a grimy, ill-intentioned white police officer is if they repeatedly and awkwardly use black slang in a very forced manner. Throughout the interrogation, Beau Patrick Daigle attempts to use street slang when talking to Foolio. And while it seems like he must be trying to make Foolio laugh, Beau Patrick Daigle actually thinks he is talking like a black person. At one point, he confuses Foolio by saying bike when he means to say back, as in opposite of front. Somehow he thinks black people just pronounce back like bike, and so Foolio has to ask for clarification a few times.
Yeah,
What were you doing? You were at a gate gas station, you said?
No, I was at the studio.
Oh, a studio?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Shit, I
And
didn't know
nigga
that.
pulled up. I was sitting in the car. Nigga shot the car. Shot back.
They got studios down there in Riverside?
Yeah.
Is it pretty good, or
Yeah, it's great shit.
you been bike?
Hmm?
You go bike?
Did I go back?
Mm-hmm.
No, I ain't been back to.
No.
No,
Probably kind of bad luck if everything gets shot at.
You been bike? You been bike? You go bike? You been bike?
Hmm?
You go bike?
Did I go back?
Mm-hmm.
No, I ain't been back to.
No.
At another point, he asks Foolio if he has any churn, not children.
I understand people got their own shit going on, bro. A nigga got kids and some more shit, so I can't just. I got a family too, shit.
You got your? You got your? You got your? You got your?
I gotta get on the way, but shit.
And then the wildest moment is when Beau Patrick Daigle asked Foolio if he got any pressure. You got any pressure? At this point, Foolio seems to think they are playing a joke on him. But Beau Patrick Daigle really believes that this is something gang members regularly say to each other.
How are you in the city? How are you in the city? You got a lot of fans?
Yeah, this shit is straight, but you know, shit, it's straight. I be in the mall sometimes and shit, take a picture, but it is what it is.
Yeah. You got pressure anywhere?
Pressure?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
What do you think I mean?
What's pressure?
Pressure, like, is your face good everywhere in the city? I'm just asking, bro. I never talked to you before. You got pressure anywhere? You got pressure anywhere? You got pressure anywhere?
Pressure?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
What do you think I mean?
What's pressure?
Pressure, like, is your face good everywhere in the city? Did you and K Shorty get along?
Yeah, that's my little brother.
Okay, so y'all have any pressure? No?
When a police officer or a white person attempts to use slang so callously, it should indicate to you that he doesn't see you as a real person. You wouldn't go up to a Mexican you respect and didn't know well and start speaking in an unrehearsed Mexican accent like, "How are your friend like this?" Again, listen to Beau Patrick Daigle attempting to use unrehearsed slang on Foolio, thinking that it will somehow trick Foolio into trusting him, as if black people aren't smart enough to tell when someone is imitating them poorly.
People be capping when they rap about you. Think about the hood, like you made it out of the hood.
Shit,
Bring people with you. Oh, no, man. I ain't
show me a picture.
Nah, man.
You talking about the people in the car?
Yeah.
Yeah, they cool as hell.
Who else you kick it with? You got pressure anywhere?
Pressure?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
What do you think I mean?
What's pressure?
Pressure, like, is your face good everywhere in the city? You got your? You been bike? You got your? You been bike?
A few last words on Beau Patrick Daigle. Beau Patrick Daigle killed an innocent man with his vehicle because he was speeding down a dark street, responding to a non-urgent call with his siren off, which is a breach of police protocol and professional standards. However, in the ultimate breach of basic humanity, when Beau Daigle mowed down a Black Army veteran riding his bike, he tried to make up a story that would make it seem like the cyclist was behaving erratically, a lie that was disproved by nearby witnesses. After killing a black father, covering up his role in doing so, and receiving only a short administrative leave as a consequence, you would think Beau Patrick Daigle would lead a different kind of life. Maybe join the Peace Corps, volunteer his time helping kids in need. Instead, he has spent his career since ruining the lives of more black youths. The other officer, right here, sitting next to Beau Patrick Daigle wearing the black and white hat and assisting with the interrogation, is Detective Hunter Sullivan. Detective Hunter Sullivan and his dad, Dennis Sullivan, both work for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. One night in 2020, shortly before this interrogation, Hunter Sullivan and his daddy went out for a night of father-son drinking. They got wasted and allegedly started calling a young woman and her male friend white trash and repeatedly taunting them. When the young woman approaches them to ask that they leave her alone, Hunter's daddy starts repeatedly punching her in the face and throws her to the ground. She tries to get back up and Hunter's daddy, Officer Dennis Sullivan, beats her down again. When Hunter Sullivan sees what his daddy is doing to the woman, he intervenes, not to help her, not to stop his daddy from beating a woman senseless, but to get some of his own punches in on the young lady. Instead of going to jail for assault, Hunter and his daddy were punished with 15 and 25-day suspensions respectively. Hunter's daddy, Officer Dennis Sullivan, plans to retire peacefully in 2026 after 30 years of wreaking havoc on behalf of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. Here is a news clip of the incident.
A woman and her attorney are accusing two people they believe to be JSO officers of assault and battery.
Today, the attorney for Sandra Beavers filed a lawsuit against Sheriff Mike Williams and the two officers identified in the complaint as John Doe number 1 and John Doe number 2 because neither officer has been identified. They're seeking several things in the lawsuit.
Identity of these officers, seeking damages against the sheriff's office for the refusal to provide us with that information under the Freedom of Information Act, and seeking damages for assault and battery against these two officers.
News for Jax reporter Eric Albany is joining us live downtown where the attorneys say the incident took place. Eric, what's even more, we understand that there's video as well?
Yes, there was video of it. Now, the incident happened back in November right out here on the sidewalk here in front of the Jack's Post bar here. In fact, most of the incident was captured on a surveillance camera, which is located right on the wall looking right out of that glass there. Now, the attorney for the victim says that his client had just walked out of the bar here. She wasn't feeling very well, said that she was up against this wall waiting for a friend to bring the car around. Now, he says while she was waiting, another man who was standing about right here began to harass his client. In this surveillance video, we see a man talking and pointing his finger in the direction of Sandra Beavers, who was out of frame but waiting for her friend to bring the car around.
The verbal accusations, threats, intimidations continued to the point that my client got up and there was a heated exchange of words.
Then the argument turned into physical violence when Beavers quickly walks over to the man with her hands up and appears to be punched in the face. Then the two start to really go at it when a second man gets involved. Both appear to knock her down. While on the ground, she appears to be punched before she could get back up.
Both of them began beating this young defenseless girl, throwing her down into the sidewalk. These gentlemen outweighed her.
These are pictures of the bruises she said she got as a result of being beaten by the men. Later in the video, her friend who went to get the car is seen returning and getting into an argument and then fighting with both men. Eventually, they are separated and then uniformed patrol officers arrive. Mathis says the two men who fought his client and her friend were revealed to be JSO officers.
Now, how do we know that they're actual members of the sheriff's office?
Well, because my client was interviewed with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office the following day, and they confirmed that they were Jacksonville Sheriff's officers. And even at the end of the altercation, one of the officers identified himself as a sheriff's officer.
Uniformed police officers are seen talking to everyone involved, including witnesses, but in the end, no arrest was made. Now, because neither officer was wearing a uniform, it's unclear if they were off duty or if they were working undercover at the time. Now, we have reached out to JSO about the video and the allegations. So far, no one has gotten back with us. And we have also requested the incident report, which, if we get, can still take several days to process. Reporting live downtown, Eric Albany, Channel 4, the local station.
What is most absurd about this interrogation is that two grown men police officers are trying to send 24-year-old Foolio to prison for fleeing from a traffic stop, knowing it's a lie that the prosecutor, Leah Owens, is using just to be able to seize his phones and download their contents constitutionally. Of these two cops trying to send a 24-year-old artist to prison for absolutely nothing, one killed an innocent black man with his police car, and the other literally beat the brakes off a harmless, unarmed young woman with his meathead daddy outside of a bar, just because she asked them to stop calling her white trash.
As a black man, I'm not exactly sure how the term white trash works, whether or not it's like the N-word, where you're only allowed to call someone white trash if you yourself are also white trash, or if it's like you have to clearly not be white trash in order to call someone else that. My point is, Hunter and his daddy were outside of a bar calling a drunk white lady white trash. The lady is offended, marches up to them and says, "Leave us alone." Then, in the white trashiest move ever, Hunter and his daddy charge the lady and knock her to the ground several times. Foolio has not been accused of killing someone, like Beau Daigle has already done, nor has he been accused of getting his full-strength MMA on with a woman half his size, like Hunter and his daddy have done. However, these men have a job, hold a position, that allows them to lie and ask intentionally confusing questions in an attempt to get Foolio to accidentally admit to crimes he didn't commit.
Where's your next show at?
California, San Diego or some shit.
Your shows sell out?
Yeah, I'm gonna be straight.
Yeah. How much you average for a show?
Like like probably like 20,000, 25,000, some shit like that.
What kind of venues are these? Yeah, I mean,
strip clubs, some regular clubs.
Yeah,
it depends.
Like Onyx?
Huh?
That kind of club, like Onyx on Norwood? Like,
probably depends. Like, it'll probably be a club like that, but then it'll probably be a strip club, or it'll probably be like an outside venue. It just depends.
Yeah, okay.
Here they ask Foolio how much he makes per show, to which Foolio responds about 20,000. If this is true and Foolio averages 2 shows per month, then this means Foolio is making more money a year than 8 to 10 Beau Daigles or Hunter Sullivans. By conservative estimation, it means Foolio makes more than 4 Prosecutor Leah Allison Owenses, or more than 3 judges. None of these people are happy for Foolio. They are not glad that a young 24-year-old black kid from the hood has somehow financially leapfrogged and then lapped every single person working in their field of employ. What is worse, standing outside of the door the whole time is Prosecutor Leah Allison Owens. Leah Allison Owens is one of the Jacksonville DA's office's digital surveillance experts. That basically just means she gets to tell the police who to use their Stingray and Hailstorm machines on. Like I said, Leah Owens has attempted to build her career on targeting and prosecuting vulnerable, innocent, and impoverished black minors for made-up crimes. In 2019, she helped spearhead the Jacksonville DA's Operation Wrap-Up, named as such because it led to the arrest of 6 rappers under the age of 18, all black teenagers. Leah Allison Owens sat for hours and watched music videos that these teenagers had uploaded to YouTube and social media. Like most rap videos from the younger generation, they featured prop guns. Leah used timestamps from the music videos on YouTube as the evidence upon which she based her arrest. When the minors' attorneys argued that these were prop guns, Leah Owens provided no evidence to back her claims and simply argued she could tell from the videos that they were real.
Now prosecutors will have to prove the weapons seen here are real. Even JSO's own firearms expert says a definitive identification of an object as a firearm is not possible.
When her office received pushback for arresting children on such faulty evidence, her explanation didn't even make sense. In fact, it didn't even sound like English. Here is the explanation that Leah Allison Owens provided when asked why she charged children with possession of firearms for using prop guns in music videos. Here the judge was absolutely confident that this was a real firearm that meets the definition of Florida statutes, and it's because not only the quality of the video, it's because of the specific time of firearms. Remember, she is referring to music videos for rap songs, and whatever she means, the point is this. This is clearly just the Florida Negro capture industry charading as the judicial system. The court hearings regarding Operation Wrap-Up pretty much went like this. But don't it look like a real gun? Yeah, just like a real gun. Then it is a real gun. As far as this court is concerned, guilty as charged.
And while police and prosecutors may legally be able to threaten suspects with jail time during interrogations, Prosecutor Leah Allison Owens took this leeway to a whole new level in 2022, when she basically committed witness tampering inside a courtroom. She approached a woman and her boyfriend's lawyer in a courtroom and told them she would find a reason to send the woman, who was not charged with any crime, to prison if she testified in support of her own boyfriend.
Today was different, involving accusations of inappropriate and possibly unethical behavior.
That's right, Jeannie. The public defender's office is accusing a prosecutor of threatening a defendant with prison time if she didn't testify for the state. The prosecutor denies it. On Your Side's Ann Schindler was the only reporter in the courtroom today for this remarkable legal showdown.
Really struck me as inappropriate and perhaps unethical.
Assistant Public Defender Terry Sopp accusing Assistant State Attorney Leah Owens of threatening her client.
If your client testifies for Mr. Whitesides, she's going to be facing prison time. That sounds like a threat. And she says, you can take that as a threat.
SOP filed a motion seeking to disqualify Owens and the entire Fourth Circuit State Attorney's Office from the case.
I would not do that.
Owens, who is part of the city's targeted prosecution unit and handles many gang cases, denied the allegation. The public defender called private attorney Patrick Carrotti to testify. He read a text message he received from Terry SOP moments after the alleged incident.
Leah Owens bizarrely came up to me in court this morning and asked Renard to cooperate with the state and threatened prison time if she didn't. I told her, look at that as a threat, and she said to consider it as one.
Owens came under fire last August for showing up at the scene of a traffic stop and directing officers to collect evidence before any arrests were made.
Leah Owens essentially, to another lawyer, claimed she would jail a woman for speaking up for her boyfriend. Leah Owens treated the ordeal like an incident at summer camp. Her only defense when questioned about it was, "You were my first county court judge. You know that I would not do that." In other words, this whole operation in Jacksonville is so shabby, it's like it isn't even a court of law.
But you were my first softball coach. You know I wouldn't lie to you.
Foolio's unlawful arrest, therefore, not only shows how powerful Stingrays and Hailstorms are as tools for law enforcement agencies looking to target non-criminal black people, but also how insidious prosecutors and cops will behave when working together outside the bounds of the law to bring down a black celebrity. Another reason for this video is that many people commented on YouTube and Instagram that Foolio should have been smarter and refused to speak to the police from the second he was arrested. At UAP, we do advocate remaining silent during an arrest, except to say that you do not consent to a search of your person or vehicle. However, focusing on whether Foolio handled the situation in the optimal way confuses the lessons we hope that black people will take away from our discussion of Foolio's situation. As we have said repeatedly in this series, cops target rappers and other influential black celebrities because it garners media attention. When police arrest someone famous, they could pretend they are actually doing real effective police work with all the money they are given. Young naive artists like Foolio, who have done nothing wrong, are at a huge disadvantage when being questioned by law enforcement. A rapper might have had a few interactions with law enforcement his entire life, but the police get to practice targeting and falsely arresting regular, non-criminal, and economically vulnerable black people every single day with no pushback whatsoever. In other words, when it comes to ruining young black kids' lives or sending a black person to jail for false charges, people like Beau Daigle, Hunter Sullivan, and Leah Allison Owens have put in their 10,000 hours. So it is unhelpful to make the argument that Foolio should have known better. Foolio's main focus in life up to this point has been learning how to make the best music, not learning how to evade racist renegade police. Detectives Beau Daigle and Hunter Sullivan should not be allowed to be cops. Leah Allison Owens shouldn't be allowed to be a prosecutor or any lawyer at all. All three of these people should be selling real estate. Like I said, a job anyone could do.
Before we close out, I want to reiterate one tactic that may help deter a cop who is trying to unlawfully arrest you. That is memorizing certain prepared statements. 1. If a cop asks to see your ID for no reason, you can say, "I will show my ID under threat of arrest. Are you going to arrest me if I do not show my ID?" 2. If a cop tries to make you do a field sobriety test, you say, "I do not consent to a field sobriety test. I will, however, consent to a breathalyzer." Cops can make up any reason to fail you if you agree to a field sobriety test. 3. If cops detain you or remove you from your vehicle, you say, "I do not consent to a search of my person or my vehicle." If you forget to say, "I do not consent to a search," cops will interpret the fact that you said nothing as you having given your consent to a search. 4. And lastly, if cops ask you any unnecessary questions, you say, "I do not feel comfortable answering any more questions without a lawyer present."
In the upcoming videos in this series, we will analyze other situations in which it is extremely likely that the feds or the police used the Stingray or Hailstorm machine to manufacture the arrest of a famous rapper. One of the few effective ways to protect yourself from this type of unlawful surveillance is to place your phone in a Faraday cage or Faraday bag anytime you are driving or traveling, or when you aren't using it. UAP sells a Faraday bag called the 4 Cage on Amazon, which is one of the cheapest options out there. If you or someone you know is the victim of police misconduct, please visit the National Civil Rights Attorney database on unlawfularrestprevention.org. We have worked hard to vet the best civil rights attorneys in each state, and we update the list as we continue to do so. Simply click on your state and you will see a list of some of the more competent civil rights attorneys in your state. We hope this helps Black people who bring police misconduct lawsuits to be more successful and win larger settlements or payouts. The worst thing you can do for your lawsuit is hire an incompetent lawyer, and most incompetent lawyers prey on Black people who have been victimized by taking their money and doing little or no work. We hope that this will be a helpful resource to our viewers and that they will share this list with any Black person who may need representation. Thank you for tuning in to another unlawful arrest prevention video.
Hear the word war, my mind go to racing. Guerrilla shit, skirmishes, but no boots on the pavement. Electric off-road V's, probably shouldn't even say this. The gals call, full of scar, fuck your rules of engagement. I'm in this shit to win it, not get tricked by no cave bitch. At the end of the day, we free whole towns from enslavement. BGFO, or they could be with the nation. Change a nigga whole life with a single conversation. 3 heroic deeds or you a bitch, that's on babies. 3 heroic deeds or you a man-shaped lady. I put you on the list, raised you up and gave you training. I said 3 heroic deeds is the way you should